What's up, everybody? KRK Beats back here at Out the Box Studios with another video, and today we're going to be doing a review, actually looking at the Adamaudio A5x. Now, if you saw my previous video, I did a review on the Adam T7V, and I'm going to kind of do a comparison of the two. And you might be thinking, okay, Adam A5x, T7V, you have two different size drivers, which I'll get into, but the A5x, as it says, is a 5-inch driver. The T7V is a 7-inch driver. So it wouldn't seem that these two would compare. You would think that the A5x would compare more with the T5V, but I'm gonna kind of break that down a little bit, and I have some info off of Adamaudio's website, and we're gonna kind of compare the two and see, how they stack up against one another. So again, if you haven't had a chance, check out that video for the Adamaudio T7V, and also hit that subscription button as well as the notification bell if you would like. That way you can find out when we post new content. So as I said at the start, we're going to be looking at the Adamaudio A5x. Now this is a speaker from near-field speaker from Adamaudio that has a 5-inch low-end driver, and of course their folded ribbon tweeter. And again, the power consumption on that, you have 50 watts for the tweeter, and you have 75 for the low-end woofer. Now it says the low-end woofer is PWM, which is Adamaudio's proprietary amplification, which is really another way of saying Class D amplification. And then there's AB amplification for the tweeter. Now, a bit of a difference, the T7V is 50 watts for the low end and 20 watts for the tweeter on that speaker. Now, obviously, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just pointing, to the A5X, but power consumption between the two, or I should say wattage, between the two is somewhat similar. Surprisingly, the A5X has more watts than the Adam T7V. And the two lines stack up like this. So the AX series, you have the 3, the 5, the 7, which is kind of the most popular, and then you have the 8. And that's the AX range. And then you have the 77, which is the dual monitor. Now on the T range, you only have the 5, the 7, and the 8, and then there's a subwoofer, a 10-inch subwoofer for that line. So when you start to look at wattage, power consumption, weight, because actually the A5X weighs roughly the same as the T7V, so you start to see the differences, but also the similarities. The clarity on the A5X, obviously the AX range is Adamoudio's mid-range monitor line. So you have the T series, which is somewhat the entry level, the AX step above, then you have the S series, that is their top of the line flagship models. I'm not going to get really into those because that's kind of a different can of worms, so to speak, but just comparing these two. And the reason I'm comparing them, because originally I had the T7Vs, loved them, great monitors. They're rear ported, that's another difference. All of the AX series, front ported. Another difference, the T series, the controls are on the back. And again, if you haven't seen the video for the T7V, check that out because I go into detail about that. You have a light on the front, which obviously the T series, there's a light on the back, and I have a theory about that, and I'm gonna go on a rant for a minute. I think a lot of people may use the T series monitors as home theater speakers. And I know there was a lot of people who complained about having the light on the back of the speaker, the indicator light. And I think on that T series, the thinking probably was in home theaters, you don't want necessarily a light if you're gonna have a home theater setup. So they put the light on the back. That's just my thinking. It kind of didn't matter to me that it was on the back, but it is nice having an indicator light on the front. I have one master switch for all the monitors, so I know that my monitor's on. But anyways, I'm off that rant. But just some of the comparisons between the A5X and the T7V. Again, power, you still have more power with wattage with the A5X, but the T7V is similar. Now, one difference, the T7V has a larger 7-inch low-end driver, obviously T7. So the bass response, and let me get this right, on the T7V, the frequency response, I should say, is 39 hertz to 25 kilohertz. That's on the T7V. Now on the A5X, it's 50 hertz to 50 kilohertz. So the A5X goes higher in the frequency range, but not quite as low. And the T7V goes lower in the frequency range, but not quite as high, if that makes any sense. And I'm trying to take my time to not mix all these things up, but it's really an interesting comparison. Now, why did I switch from the T7V? One, clarity, the amplification, the AB amplification on the tweeter. I believe that's the X-Art, and the T line has what's called the U-Art, and the S line has the, I believe it's S-Art. I probably got that all wrong. If I did, I'll put it on the screen below. But the difference in tweeter level and clarity, obviously there's a difference in range of product, so it's way clearer. That's not to say that the T7V is not clear. I was surprised that a lot of mixes and beats I did on the T7Vs, when I listened to them on these, sounded excellent. However, there is a difference in clarity. That high end, it's hard to believe if you ever heard the T7Vs. The high end on the A5X is just much more clarity, much more detail, much more separation. All of the things that you hear about well-built monitors, and that takes me to my next point. The AX range of monitors are built in Germany, I believe, and you can tell by the build quality. Now you have an MDF kind of backing or cabinet, which is similar to the T range. The difference on the AX range is this front plate. I believe it's metal. I could be wrong. If it's not metal, it's some sort of really hard wood, but I think it's metal. The housing around the tweeter on the AX range is metal. I believe it's aluminum. Again, if I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen. The woofer material, the material on the AX monitors is a woven carbon fiber material that has a coating over it. The woofer on the T series is polypropylene, which is a material that's used on a lot of monitors, even high-end monitors, so it's not a bad material, but you can tell a difference in bass response. Although the T7V has a lower frequency response, being that the A5X is front-ported, dual front-ported, it just has a cleaner, faster low end. It's not as deep, but it's much clearer, if that makes any sense. And the mid-range is where these excel. And that's why I made a switch, as I was alluding to earlier. Why the switch? Because I noticed I was getting a lot of buildup of bass kind of in the back of my room, which part of that is treatment. I do have treatment in the back of the room. I also have larger set of kind of main monitors. But what I realized was that the T7V, really, if you have those by themselves, you might need a subwoofer, but you probably don't. So I wanted to really hone in my mixes in the mid-range. So that's why I said, let me try these out and make the switch. And I'm happy with it. It's the same sound signature as the T series, as the T7Vs in particular, but much clearer and not as much low end, which really you have to hear these monitors. When I first plugged them up, I was used to hearing the T7V, so I had an idea, okay, of what the sound signature would be. But after, firing these up, you have to go through a breakthrough period, which you should with all speakers. And my breakthrough period is just listening to music. I left them on for a day, came back, let them heat up a little bit. Another issue I'll get to, not really issue, but thing I'll get to, difference between the two. It's a whole nother level, to be honest with you. But it's to be expected because, again, the T series is not meant to directly compete with the AX series. The T series is an entry-level monitor. You can really do a lot with them. I think, as I said before, I think a lot of people will use possibly the A7X, or excuse me, here I go. The T5V for home theaters and things of that nature, multimedia setups. That's why I think they put that light on the back. Of course, like I said, all the switches for the monitor are on the front on the A series, and there's an indent at 0 dB for your input gain. You have your power on and off switch. Stereo link, what stereo link is a feature that you can run both monitors just by plugging in an RCA cable into the back of one monitor, which they come with. Run that to the other, turn on your stereo link, and you can control both volumes from one monitor. The T series don't offer that. I don't use it. It's a great feature if you want to use that, but like I said, I don't use it. Difference, I mentioned heat. These get warm, considerably warm, because of that AB amplification that is featured in here. It gets a lot warmer than the T series. The T series is all Class D, so you don't have really any heat. You can leave the T series monitors on all day and you don't have any heat. However, AB amplification, in my opinion, is just better. As far as depth and clarity, it's just a little bit better. Some may say it's not, but a lot of monitors are switching to Class D amplification because they're putting onboard DSP correction. Most of the old school monitors, older KRK monitors, older high-end monitors use AB amplification. A lot still do now, but I notice a lot are switching. I'm going to show some B-roll of the back panel of the A5X. You can check out the T7V video because I do more in depth on that particular speaker, but I wanted to do kind of a comparison of the two. Obviously, I'm not putting a sound sample in. You're not going to be able to tell the difference through that. Just have to take my word for it a little bit, but you'll notice a difference. It is worth the step up in monitor line. However, if you have the T5V or T7V or the T8, they're all great. They're worth it as well. If that's what you're looking for, you can get incredible mixes with those monitors. You're not shortchanging yourself. It's really just an issue of what you're looking for. I wanted something that was extremely detailed in the mid-range. Now again, the A5X is not Adamaudio's flagship line, which is the S series. So, you can find monitors with even higher detail, mid-range, low-end, in a 5-inch configuration out there. It just depends on the price range and model line you're looking at. But I think the A5X monitors from Adamaudio are kind of slept on, because the A7X is kind of the monitor that you see in most studios, and those are incredible. But the A5X, you don't see a lot of reviews about. There are quite a few, but you don't see a whole lot. Even when you go on Adamaudio's website, the A5X is kind of like the the A7X little brother. So most people go for the A7 or the A77X, which all of those monitors sound incredible. For my studio and for your studio, it just depends on your setup, the size of your setup, what you're looking for. You can kind of go through and figure out what works for you. Like I said, I had the T7V, and it was just too much bass. Not that they were overly hyped in the bass. They are a little bit, because of, again, that polypropylene. That material is rigid, but it just can't offer the same movement that a woven carbon fiber can, just a higher end material. So what works for you? What you're looking for in your setup is very important, and will dictate what what type of monitor you go for. Some people don't like the folded ribbon tweeter. If you do like the folded ribbon tweeter, try out the A5X. Try out the T7Vs. I can't really make a recommendation and say get this one or don't get that one. You just have to listen to it and figure out what works for you. But I want to do a comparison of the two, because I found it interesting that if you look at the T line and the AX line, the A3X kind of aligns with the T7V, and so on and so forth. Like the A5X kind of aligns with the T7V. If you look at wattage, weight of the monitor, frequency response, they're not like exactly matched up like you would think it would be. But it's something that you might want to take into consideration, because if you were thinking of getting the T7V, you may find that the A5X, although it's a bump up in model range, and that you may find that they work better for you. Just my opinion. Again, I could be completely wrong, but who knows? So again, that's my comparison. I will put a link to Adamaudio's website below. Check out pricing, availability, where you can get them, and any other details that you might have. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do the A5X line up with the T7V? Is that a good comparison? Have you had a chance to listen to both or either one? Do you own either monitor or the A77X? Any monitors from Adamaudio? Just let me know in the comments. And I would love to hear what you guys think about that. So again, here at Out the Box Studios, thank you. And just remember, never settle and manage your expectations. So what I mean by that, when you're working on a project, never just settle for status quo. Always try to push the envelope. With that said, manage your expectations, because you can work on a project to the end of time, but if you have the greatest record, the greatest artwork, the greatest novel ever written, ever penned, ever composed, and nobody hears it, what good is it? So you kind of have to balance the two, and that comes with time. But again, never settle and manage expectations. KRK Beats for Out the Box Studios. Hit that subscription button as well as the notification bell so you can find out when we post new content. And as always, keep producing. Peace.